that Conservation Commission, we should discuss that.
You gonna be ready there?
I think that's.
Brian was
Yeah,
good.
we should. I'm gonna take a look.
Yes, I think it's recording a map.
All right, so. All right, good evening, everybody. This is November 20th, 2024, the Conservation Commission for the town of Fairfield. Lucas Thomas, Jay Payne, Peter Mahoney, Ted Luxinger, Bradley Rowan, Peter Hood, and Diane Saunders are here. Diane will be appointed as a full member for tonight. Okay. The Conservation Commission meeting of October 16th, 2024 for the minutes. Anybody have any corrections or anything? Nope. Okay. Motion to approve. Kate and Dabney seconds. Okay, all in favor? Okay. All right, moving on to new business. Number one is conservation easement modification with respect to 60 Mulberry Hill Road. Assuming that's what's in here. Well, hello there.
Hello.
Good evening.
I know this isn't a public hearing, so if you don't want me to talk, or you,
Sure, tell us what this is about.
I'm just here to kind of give a background on what we're kind of requesting.
Okay. Sure.
And good evening, Brian Carey, professional wetland scientist with Land Tech and Westport. I'm currently representing the homeowners at 60 Mulberry.
Looks like there was a memorandum dated November 8th, 2024. It's part of our agenda packet, folks. It's in the-
So the property owner moved into the house, I believe, in 2021 or 2022. And they're proposing to make some improvements outside the upland review area. When we did the updated survey, there's actually a fence located in the limits of that we're trying to restore, basically remove outside of the easement to basically remove that encroachment. We submitted a certificate of wetlands conformance for the work, since all the work was basically outside the upland review area. As part of the process, we did go out there and generate new field mapping. So you can see this is the existing condition site plan. You can see there's a fence that basically is in the area where this red bubble is on the screen. It's either going to move or eliminate that fence. The easement is marked in the field. I'm not really sure how this fence was installed before the existing homeowner. This is the plan that is basically in front of staff. Never been to the site. Road here. It's a single road driveway off the end of Mulberry. There's actually a right of way that extends from here down to what road is that? Down to Catamount Road, correct? And this easement, this would never be approved. At some point in 2004, town did grant approval for this lot, which is, down this road. I'm not really sure how it ever really did get approved with this extension. But this is town property, this road, and then basically there's a steep grade here. So the homeowner is trying to fix it so that they can basically have a turnaround here. It's a very odd shaped house. So the front actually comes out this way. This is very steep grade here. It's almost unsafe the way it is. So they're just trying to correct the steep slope here with the new walkway and then put this turnaround. Yeah, again, it's a bit of an odd shaped house. But our request tonight in front of the Conservation Commission is really just to remove this fence.
Well, and
Where
it's
the
also
conservation
in
easement is?
building the retaining wall.
Well, the wall is, so we
It's
did,
outside of it, but
yeah,
I wasn't comfortable with the proximity to the easement boundary with building the wall, that there might not be any encroachment during construction.
well, we'll limit, yeah, there, so again, with the, I know we have another matter again with the wall. I mean, even if there was temporary encroachment, I think this can be done again without really any encroachment into.
Can you point out what lines of conservation easement, 'cause it's not labeled on the map.
It's labeled, it's just really, there's a lot going
So
on.
many lines.
It's the one with all the pins, right? It goes along the
Yeah.
pin set.
So right here,
It's really close to the walkway. I mean,
It is.
At one point, it looks like it's only a couple feet away.
it is. This is actually, a wall.
Within the conservation easement or on the line of it?
So which, I'm sorry, Jack?
Septic system is,
Yeah, that was previously legalized. Honestly, I don't know. My time, I don't know, they get COs and sign offs from all of the Conservation Department and Zoning Department. I'm not really sure about the whole backstory about how this happened.
so some of the revetment is back into the
It
conservation.
is,
Looks like there's a whole boulder retaining wall, the chain link fence, all of that's in there.
it is.
But that's all previous, you're saying, not your client.
That's not my client, that's not the existing homeowner. And there's no bond, I don't believe there's a bond. Apartment. I'm not sure, when I went out there, Sarah and I went out.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest of lots. I'm not really sure in the background. I never had any experience with it when I was working with the town. Except I will say that this was always a nightmare to have to go down here and plow and pick up the garbage, because this one lot, this is very far down and it's the responsibility of the town. And maintain the drainage that's coming down this road.
So you're saying this, the drive, the construction, yeah, that's a road, not a driveway?
This is a town road.
Okay.
This is the driveway.
Okay.
So basically, this grade is very steep. So we're just trying to smooth out this grade. And then put this proposed turnaround driveway in. We actually have two walls here to make it work with the geometry. If you went out there, I mean, this is,
Looks like a step up?
so that basically this is gonna smooth this out here with the grading, and then they'll have a turnaround, and then we'll install additional Coltex system. Supplement what's already out there, and then coming from the driveway to the house.
Just out of curiosity, Mulberry Hill does not come off of Catamount, right?
No,
It dead end. What road does it come off of?
hold on 1 second.
Just curious. Oh, there we go. Fallow.
Yeah, there's a bunch, so.
And then it dead
Brett
ends.
Woods, it's right there.
Okay, I gotcha. It dead ends right at that house.
Catamount, again, and talking with Bill Hurley about this, because we had to basically get all of the as-built for this road. There's no way to really ever extend this road, Mulberry Hill Road down to Catamount. There's a fairly large water course coming in through here, and wetlands. There's really no benefit to the town to do that. This is just for reference to, this is the 100-foot, this is the 100-foot upland review area here. See that the whole project is outside of that.
And you're talking about the post, the rail fence?
Yeah, post rail fence. The condition of it right now is you could probably push it over. But this is monumented in the field. Okay. In this. And I did provide the easement in the documents that I did submit. And then there was just a brief memo. All the work that's being done on site is in areas that are previously disturbed. There's no, this is so far down the grade that there's really. It's so steep right here, as you can tell with the boulder revetment wall, there's really no way to get down here. With the machine, you'd most likely come up through Catamount. So all the work is done basically backing their way out along and outside the driveway.
And if there were to be any disturbance in building the retaining walls, it would be in the area
Right here,
outside of the split rail fence that would then be restored because they're gonna relocate
correct.
the silt or the split rail fence
So,
to the proper boundary marker.
yeah, so we would have, we would have this silt fence line right here. I think it is shown, I thought I had another plan, but, yeah, we would put a demarcation line here during the job. I was, silt fence or whatever, you can see the line right here. I know this is a very busy site plan. You can see the silt fence line going right here along and up the walkway.
So just to summarize for the commission, why this is before you is because when it came to the department, our concern was the extensive activity, 1 in upland review, 2 on steep slope, and 3 within a couple feet of the easement boundary. So the department thought it was appropriate to have the applicant present this for you based on the potential and in a construction event of this size, potential to encroach or damage. that easement. So
You make that, determination when looking at this plan, so I'd have to rely on staff to advice and whether they think it can be done or not, or if they need more information, or sections or construction details. You need that, or?
Yeah, I think
it's-
we would need
Ultimately,
more
it's gonna be a
details on the
CRC, right?
walls, which I've talked to Brian about, and I think, again, I think if there were to be any, I just don't want to end up in a violation situation. And I think if there was any accidental encroachment, it would be in part of the easement that is essentially already encroached upon because the fence is set back too far. So I think if we have the proper details to make sure and the proper soil and erosion controls, I do think it could be done. I'm just a little concerned that there might be accidental encroachment. But by also relocating that fence, once everything's done and restoring that bit of area that was essentially an encroachment to begin with, I think it'll be back to how it should have been.
I guess we have to rely on your professional judgment because we don't, we don't really have an application. before us.
Right,
Is there
and that's why
conditions that
it's
you can
just
make with the
for-
Permit that you feel that would be, for the level of protection that you'd be comfortable with?
And they submitted a CWC. We have not technically accepted it. They haven't paid the application fee because I wanted to make sure that we were okay if there was any restoration of the conservation easement that needed to be done with the building of the wall. I don't think in terms of impact to inland wetlands, there's that much concern because it is all outside of the upland review. And again, with proper soil and erosion controls, I think it'll be
So
okay.
if we did it with the, make sure it was staked, make sure you had a site monitor with the appropriate number
Yeah.
of visits. Get some assurances from the professionals that it can be done, and they have a good construction sequence, would you be comfortable with?
Yeah, and then like a restoration plan after with the fence relocation, and if any plans are to go in.
I mean, we have no problem, doing those.
It would seem to me, obviously, we don't want to have a violation, but then.
Right, yeah, so we
We
just
have
thought
to
it would be
rely on
better
you
to
as
come now
professionals and-
rather than
Take our
later.
professionals to your representation.
I apologize. I want a clarification. of what fence are we talking about? I see one all the way on the right that starts with almost at the
So
in the 30-foot. Okay.
Traditional fence.
Yeah, so which fence are we discussing?
section right here.
If you look at the existing
Oh,
condition,
over here,
Here's the- yeah.
another one here. Okay. I was
there's a
looking-
fence that's already encroaching.
Yeah.
See the easement.
Yep. Okay.
Which direction does the land slope in? Does it go
Down this way, south, north to south.
north or south?
So the house is on top of the hill.
Yeah. Big hill.
Yeah.
So if you go in the front door, it's almost 15 feet down.
Yeah, I wouldn't use that front door. No, I mean, like, if a
Seems
kid's going
crazy.
out and trips.
Yeah.
So Sarah, if
I mean, it seems
if all
really
the
like
controls are in place.
things are gonna, like, if
You're
you've got good
comfortable.
rain
Yes.
during all of this
Okay.
construction.
And then you're coming to inland wetlands afterward?
No, it was.
It would be staff,
It would be
because it's
staff.
outside of upland review area.
Okay.
But because it was so close, we just want to make sure we can put in conditions for
Right.
restoration of the easement without it being a violation.
Okay. And you're gonna be doing that on staff level?
Yes.
And you're okay with that? Yep.
I mean, this fixing the easement or, I mean, really. This fence was built in the easement improperly. I can address any of the concerns. Path regarding the constructability of this wall. I mean, we've met with contractors out there, and discussed how that would occur, and whether that was feasible.
Sarah, would it be in violation if a double silt fence were it's within upland review area?
As long as you okay it, it would, like within the easement part, it would not be a violation if you say it's okay to put someone.
Right, so I'm just wondering if
Are
if
we-
a double silt fence wouldn't be appropriate considering the slope?
Considering the slope.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I mean, if we get a good rain during all of this, I mean, it could be really a
We
problem.
might be due, right?
Yeah, well, you know, we were just at Kakiewicz this weekend and we saw all the flooding from Oxford and, you know, and God forbid you get, I mean, you wouldn't need 16 inches to cause a real problem on a site like this.
So this wall will be built in sections. You basically put this wall in first, this lower wall, and then fill behind it, and then build this upper wall. So really the only disturbance that would be the critical phase of the project would be the construction of this lower wall. Because by the time this is in, you're basically holding that lower grade. And then you construct this wall and back to it. So I understand the concerns, but this is the critical path here. And then working backwards. I mean, this walkway is really just on grade. See the proposal elevations 243 here, 243, 242. So I mean, that's pretty flat. You can see the existing elevation. It's basically the front door. If you go off the side, it's 10 feet drop. The bottom of the house, there's a first floor level down here, windows. That's at 233. And you're coming up here. I mean, it's a 10-foot drop.
So with the controls in place and the work gets done at the end of the day, you're actually outside of the easement then?
There's no work being proposed in the easement other than the removal of this fence. Yeah,
So the fence will be outside of it? Yeah. Okay.
so they're actually correcting a violation.
Only 60 square feet within the URL.
The fence?
URA.
Yeah. I've seen worse too, you know?
I have no issue with the removal of the fence. That certainly makes perfect sense. You're adding 1,200 feet of impervious driveway. Again,
400 square feet.
you're putting impervious stones in some sections of where the turnaround is. I have no concern with respect to the easement. I have a concern with respect to the increase in the impervious square footage. Would your clients be open to adding some additional native foliage to slow down water that might go down the hill.
I mean, I can put together a planting plan, but again, this is, all this work is being done outside the upland.
Outside the
review
scope,
area.
I understand that.
And then we do meet the town's required drainage. This is actually, this drainage system here, one of the problems is that the town's, well, it's not a problem, but I mean, particularly, but the town's drainage system is actually on the property, so all of this. Yeah, so they're just trying to solve a bad situation that they inherited. I mean, we not go too far. We gave a bunch of feasible and prudent alternatives for them. They also had an idea in their minds that they wanted to do. They're trying to make it so that the front of the house is kind of, when you pull up, you can kind of see the front of the house. Because if you come into the house now, this is a garage and there's a door here that's goes into an office. So everyone comes here, everyone, it's awkward. Everyone comes, knocks on his office all day long, if they're delivering anything. They're trying to force people to use the front door.
All right, so it's on our agenda as conservation easement modification request. Doesn't look like you're asking for modification, you're just looking to do some work that might go in that area.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing will change with
Yeah,
the easement language.
That's- All right, Commissioners, any questions or anything? All right.
Since it's in front of us, I would feel more comfortable if there was a double silt fence. That's the only comment.
We can,
Hi, can I comment as a neighbor?
well, it's not a public hearing. You can come in and talk to staff and Sarah or Tim, but this isn't a public hearing. So not really.
Is there going to be a public hearing?
No, because there's no requirement for it.
And why is that?
There's no real impact to wetlands here, other than there's a conservation easement in the area of the construction or the removal of the fence, excuse me. And the construction will be near there, but it really isn't.
Because the work is outside of the regulated area.
I live downhill from them, and Sasko Creek runs into my pond on Catamount. And we had to go through enormous amount of work to do any sort of water mitigation on our property. We planted thousands of native trees and plants to try to mitigate our water problem. And I'm very concerned that, with this runoff, potential disturbance of runoff into the creek will
There's only-
impact our pond.
There's only so much we can do based on our regulations and our jurisdiction. Right now, we're sitting as the Conservation Commission. There's a conservation easement on this land. They're trying to do work within about 60 feet of a small portion of the easement area. That's what they're here for. All the work that they're doing is on land that's not wetlands, so we can't regulate that.
Well, who does? Someone's obviously, concerned about this silt coming down and affecting the creek, and
And we discussed that, and the owner's agent who's here, Carrie, has seemed to indicate that they'd be willing to do a double silt fence, which is, almost extraordinary measures in certain situations. So they are cognizant of that, and it seems like they're gonna be open to talking to staff and are gonna be agreeable to all of those measures.
I guess I'm just, concerned. We had to do a silt fence recently on our property. We worked with you guys when we had to do water mitigation in our conservation area that had far less impact on the creek and the pond that of course flows downhill, as you're well aware. And I would like to feel more comfortable that, a minimum of a double silt fence. I mean, we did a double silt fence that was quite some ways from the pond and not downhill. This is a steep downhill that causes us quite a bit of concern as the owner of the pond that then flows to the rest of the creek.
Yeah,
Every property is different, but the regulations that we abide by are the same for every property. And they are in compliance with regard to doing any work within the regulated area. And also, I'll add that their agent has taken into
So-
consideration stormwater management as well, according
Ma'am?
to our regulations.
so I know it might be difficult to differentiate because we're all the same people, but we are actually two different bodies. One is the Conservation Commission and one is the Inland Wetlands Agency. As the Conservation Commission, what we're looking at right now is simply any impact on the conservation easement. Anything that deals with restoration, silt fences, anything like that would be with the Inland Wetlands Agency. You can feel free to talk to Tim Bishop, who's the director of the agency, tomorrow, and they'll be happy to walk you through and talk to you and take your input, and they'll relay that to Mr. Carey and to his client. Okay, ma'am?
Thank you very much.
All right, where do we leave off? Thank you. You don't vote on that, right?
You can make a vote to allow silt fence within the conservation easement. That's part of-
No, that's a good idea.
Oh,
Yeah, let's do that. So I make a motion to allow a double silt fence to encroach into the upland review area as necessary for the timeframe of the work and disturbance being completed.
Question?
Yeah.
Upland review area, but not the conservation easement.
We would be in the upland review area.
I think they're essentially the same.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, the conservation easement.
Within the conservation.
That would specify the easement,
Yeah.
just for clarity.
So I make a motion to allow a double silt fence to be placed in the conservation easement as needed for the duration of construction and disturbance on this project.
Can I just add to that?
Sure.
And that post-construction that restored to its previous pre-construction condition.
Okay, so, you adopt that as your main motion, or do you
Yes.
want that to be,
No, that can be all the same motion.
okay, so. Yes.
May I also suggest that that include the removal of the fence, because that is the activity,
You should.
just to be very clear.
Yeah, that's, was just gonna say, we don't want it necessarily pre-construction because the fence is within it now.
Right.
Do we have the full motion? approved?
Can I read it to you?
Yes, please do,
Okay.
please do.
Motion to allow double silk fence to encroach into the upper upland review area.
No, strike that. It'll be the
Conservation easement?
Conservation easement. area,
Conservation.
yeah.
While construction is going on and post-construction, restore to pre-construction condition without the fence, without the encroaching fence, the current.
Because of its removal.
Yeah.
It's gonna be removed.
And
and
reset
removal
on
of
the boundary.
Encroaching fence.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
does that sound okay?
yes, and if anybody wants to second that,
Second.
Ted seconds it, all in favor? All right, okay, that's all around. Yay. Yeah, I think that might be the longest one we've had, okay. Moving on.
Multi-person.
Number
Teamwork.
number 2 on new business, request by Steep Endurance for Lake Mohegan Trail Race on April 26, 2025.
So if everyone recalls, this is not the first time we've worked with Steep Endurance. I believe it's the third time for next year, next April. All the first two times have been successful and no incident. And I believe they're online tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I was having a hard time getting my camera going, but you guys can all hear me?
Oh, yes.
Loud and clear.
You got turned-
So my name is Brian Vanderheiden. I'm the race director and founder of Steep Endurance. We've we organized trail race events throughout Connecticut for the last 7 years. We host events in state parks, town parks, preserves, etc. And we've hosted the Lake Mohegan Trail Race for the last 2 years in late April. It's a women's only trail race to try to attempt to bring more women into the sport. I think trail run's an amazing sport, and the experience in the community are like none other that I've been a part of. So everyone is so inviting. I've worked with Timothy Bishop in approving the permit for this event each year, and have submitted the permit to him already for 2025.
Okay.
Just wondering if you guys have any questions.
I don't, it's been a good program,
it's been
so,
good.
yeah.
Great.
Oh, there you go, okay.
Insurance and all that stuff is, we did
Yep.
that last year, right?
Yeah, just for
It's in
the record, I haven't, pending, this commission's approval, it will go to, the other town departments. Listed on the permit application, which have not had, any issues in the past, so assuming that, will be approved as well. Then on the town side would have no further, issues or conditions.
Thank you.
All right. Again, do we vote on that, or is it just simply you approve it?
I think just a general approval, if anyone has any, objections.
I move that we approve the application from Steep Endurance.
Second,
Second,
Diane, all in favor? All right, yay. Have fun,
Thank you so much, everybody.
have fun, enjoy.
Thanks, Brian. I'll talk to you.
Thank
Number
you.
Request by Department of Public Works Police Department to improve backstop berm at Hoydens Hill Shooting Range.
I can speak to this one. There was a request by both departments since the shooting range used by the police department is on conservation's open space. The intent is to bring the backstop into compliance, and that includes importing about 125 or so, 150 cubic yards of material to raise the height of the berm. It's been neglected for a while. Also give it a couple wing walls, I'll call it, on each side. But it does have to go up significantly, about another 10 feet in height. If anyone walks back to that end and continues the trail towards Beers Road, you're familiar with it. There would be some mowing and maintenance in that area as well, but I thought it was appropriate given the volume of really, required for the improvement that we come before the commission for formal approval.
do they have a lead recovery program?
I spoke with the chief last week. He confirmed with me that 99% of all their rounds are lead-free. I don't know the status of what's in the berm now, but I do know it's monitored because last year groundwater monitoring well was installed down gradient in bedrock. That was required, to my knowledge, that groundwater is lead-free or in compliance, I should say.
Once in a while.
They do, they sift it.
Hire a couple of guys to go through
Oh,
and.
they said that, yeah.
Yeah, it's removed.
Awesome.
Okay,
But
good.
the chief did, like I said, say the rounds are lead-free,
That's
so
great.
That's,
in hopes that, there's not a contamination issue.
yeah.
The project just involves safety and compliance
Yeah.
by making it higher, so.
Safety purposes.
And I go back there all the time and like, it would definitely be nice for it to be cleaned up a little bit. a lot of times there's like trash back there and they have those old wooden backs. I don't know if they're backstops or where they hang the targets or.
Yeah, they're like the telephone poles. Yeah. Some of those will be removed, some have been replaced. But
Well,
that's-
they'll keep like the canopy with the tables and stuff on it.
Yeah, that'll all remain the same. Some mowing along the sides to, the vines and invasives are encroaching. But that'll also facilitate the installation of the new material, so.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? No? Any motion to approve the request?
I'll make the motion to approve the request of the police department to improve their gun range backstops with earth and material.
Second. And Ted second.
And just for the record, if anyone didn't notice, the best management practices were attached to the package.
Okay. All in favor? Carry all around. Okay. Business number 4, the 2025 meeting calendar and nomination of officers to Conservation Commission and Inland Wetlands Agency.
Can I continue a tradition? It's only the third year. I'll call that a tradition, a mass nomination. I think we have such a good slate of officers. How can we do that? If you're all willing to do it again, I'd like to just make a sweep of it.
Okay, I'm okay with it, Daphne.
I'm okay with it.
Rick's not here, subject to Rick. I don't have a problem if.
You can make him.
Yeah, well. we made him stay, we made him stay, so, yeah,
Right,
he was
exactly.
Ready to go, we pulled him right back in, Second, I would say.
Okay, yeah.
Second that? I guess all in favor? Yep, all right. Okay, great. Yay.
Last two.
Makes it easy.
It's tradition, you say, huh?
Well,
Okay.
3 years, that's a tradition.
That's good. Okay.
Peter's really into efficiency.
Acclamation.
I like that.
But we should look at the calendar as well for any holidays and stuff. Is that something we need to do, Tim?
Yeah, there were, staff did point out some on the bottom, some religious holidays, and a couple changes related to New Year's, Ash Wednesday and Yom Kippur. I looked at the calendar myself, I didn't see any glaring conflicts other than those. But open to any other input, if needed, that could be voted on in December, if we wanna look at it for the next month, but
We
that's up to
talked
you.
about,
You guys.
October 1st.
last year, I guess we got jammed up in July about having a meeting, in July. We were still gonna go no meetings in July.
I mean, do you want to try August? See if.
I don't really, I just broaching the subject. I probably would say that maybe we do away with the first meeting in July and maybe the first meeting in August.
So that we have at least one meeting and
Yeah,
do we,
But isn't it the wetlands meetings you need? Not the conservation?
well,
well, this is the conservation meeting? Oh, no, and the.
This- this
wetlands.
both,
This
yeah.
both. Is it possible to come, like we're doing now? So maybe we do,
You can hold the date if you have to do both in one night.
yeah, we could
like
do
we
that.
can hold the date and if we have to do it,
Based on court.
not an emergency, but if we need to do two
Right.
public hearings or something.
I know it was just like jammed up last year.
Yeah.
I thought we,
Either to cancel than to schedule. So if we have some, if you, that was the decision, you could put the meeting on and then always cancel it. But it's harder to schedule. If it says no meeting, it's harder to put the meeting on.
So I don't want to do the early July, because that's always going to be around the
yeah,
fourth.
it's no good. And it's very, it's a lot of
I would say
objections from people.
have a meeting, the customary second meeting for July. And maybe do it for both. That, okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Combine.
Yeah.
For the third week of July, do a Concom and wetland.
Yeah.
I just want to comment that April 16th is smack in the middle of Fairfield spring break.
It is, thank you for pointing that out.
I'm looking at you.
So there may be people not.
So, but there are five Wednesdays that month, so maybe the 23rd.
Even better.
Relocate that.
Yep.
23rd.
What month was that? I'm sorry.
April.
So not the 16th, but the 23rd.
First, I'll be on public hearings. It's Yom Kippur.
We don't have them on, typically on Yom Kippur, right?
Could just have a public hearing that people could not attend.
The town close on.
So are we gonna move, so we're gonna move we're gonna have January 8th, March 12th, and October 8th?
Wait, what?
If that's what we want to do, that's why we're talking about.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
What did you just say?
Right here.
So under the notes, so are we gonna adopt that tonight then, those
If you
changes?
want to, or we can just talk about it and then we can do it December. It's okay, we have time to
Yeah.
do it in December. And we don't have to do it at a conservation commission, we can do it at inland wetlands, right?
In the past, we've done it at
At conservation.
conservation, yeah.
The bylaws say if it affects both, you do conservation
Conservation.
first.
Okay,
So. I actually made use of that a little
I
bit.
just wanted to get it in everyone's hands, so think about it, would not be, have your back to the wall come December. Then we would have to publicly notice January meetings.
We're not having a meeting January 1st, so
no, so January 8th, definitely.
definitely.
March 5th is Ash Wednesday. March 12th and then.
I'm comfortable making those changes.
Yeah, is anybody uncomfortable making those changes as listed under the notes section? Um,
I'm just checking this against the school schedule.
well, Yeah, as you should. So,
And then can I reiterate something? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Are we doing no first week of July meeting, but the third week combined?
yes,
And then same with August?
no,
Okay.
unless commissioners, you want to do that.
Okay. To do that, we're okay.
Well, the goal is to cancel that July meeting. I'm just making it
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah, leave.
Yeah.
Right.
Dabney says it's good, so the town of
All
Fairfield,
right.
the town of Fairfield's, Board of Ed, I guess, calendar is good. All right, well, I mean, we're actually ready, so if anybody wants to do a motion.
Two motions, one for the slate and one for the calendar.
We did
did
the
the
slate,
slate, the
so
slate.
just the calendar now.
Yeah, I make a motion, we accept the calendar as amended. Revised.
Okay, any second to that? Kate, second, all in favor? Aye. And you guys do with the dates we just discussed? Got
I
it?
have one question.
Yeah, please clarify.
October 8th. Are we doing October 1st or October 8th?
8th.
Okay, thank you.
So the department will produce a accurate
Yeah.
calendar without asterisks and stuff.
And you'll have to
So we
provide it to
can-
the town clerk.
In July, you
get
can
rid
put
of
in
that.
parentheses.
Yes.
You get rid of that, we'll circulate a new one at the next meeting.
Perfect.
All right. Where are we? Moving on to Roman numeral 5, old business. Number 1, November 8th, planning at Finger Woods related to forestry spots. With high school student Emily Barnhart, part of Yukon Conservation Scholarship Program.
Went very well. I could, since Nicole's been quiet at the end, and even though she wasn't there that day, I'll let her
Go for it.
go with that.
Sure. I know, it was really sad. I couldn't be there. But we ordered 99 trees, little mini seedlings, saplings. They're about a foot and a half high, red maple, red oak, and tulip tree.
Yep.
And I didn't go out, but the conservation crew, the open space crew and Tim and then Emily went out and they planted all 99 seedlings in this one experimental plot we have. So as he's mentioned, we have 3 experimental plots. One's a control with just beech trees left to be, and then one's clear cut and left to be, and the other one was also clear cut, and
That's where they put.
they put the seedlings in to basically see, these are the ones that they planted are naturally occurring in this area anyway, so we're seeing how they will fare compared to in that other clear cut control. I mean, there's already herbaceous greenery coming up, and to see what types of species are gonna come up. I mean, if there's invasive species that are gonna come up too, and just to see how things fare. And then in a forest where beech leaf disease is really prominent, and it takes about 5 years on average for them to kill even mature trees. So just to see how the forest composition could change on a small scale if, God forbid, all those beech trees are gone. But it's really interesting already just comparing the experimental plot with the seedlings and the clear cut, just to see how quickly things are coming in with this open canopy now, and there's no trees in the way and more sunlight's coming in. So we're really excited I'm very excited about it. I want to go in and check periodically, but we're also, I think, Tim, we've been kind of talking about seeing if Emily wants to pick it up or if anyone else at UConn wants to kind of pick up.
That was gonna be my
Measuring?
question. So I mean,
Yeah.
was this Emily's project or who?
It
I
was,
know we talked about it some time back,
yeah,
but how's it gonna be? How's the data gonna be collected over the 5-year period of time?
well, the intent is to either try and collaborate with UConn. Most likely it will be a Fairfield prep or a Fairfield U. Or
Okay.
project that can be long-term, in one ecology or forestry class to collect data and analyze it over time. Because this will obviously exceed anyone's duration in college.
Kate, maybe you would know, is there any program at any of the high schools in town? Is there anything that maybe we can also incorporate maybe a high school class?
You
or
know, they do,
something?
I mean, both high schools do have advanced placement environmental science.
Okay.
And those APES kids do a lot with the town and with Mill River and, and they have a very, the faculty is really great, whether or not they could take on something of that scale, you know what I mean? Like, but
I don't want them to take it on, but maybe just to let
but
them
I
know.
think,
if they
I
wanna
think that they would
participate.
really like, you know what I mean, really enjoy having something that they could actually go visit and see. So I think that, you know what I mean, like, that faculty could track over time.
Would it hurt if we were to reach out to them and say, look, there's something that's gonna happen, it's gonna be next 5 years, do you wanna go out a couple of days every year and see the difference? And
Yeah, not at all. I mean,
know.
A meeting ago, I explained that Nicole and I went out there with Fairfield Prep's Ecology Club
Okay,
and prior to planting, and explained what was gonna happen, but yeah, I mean, if anyone connects me with
okay.
a high school teacher, then
So if we can find somebody to talk to, you'd be
Sure.
willing to
Oh, yeah,
talk to somebody?
I mean, it could be collaborative too. I mean, it doesn't just have to be the high school, I mean, like, it could be Fairfield Prep and, you know what I mean? Like,
It's something that we're doing. It's there. There's not much to it other than observations.
Is there any way to mark it? So if the casual observer could, you mark
See what we should
what
put a
you were
sign up.
doing at Lake Mohegan, which I think is very interesting. People walk in and see the tarping, but there's a sign explaining it.
it's deep,
Maybe.
it's deep in Bangor and there's no trail system. So
I wouldn't be
other
welcome.
than, other than us knowing about it.
But yeah, because then who knows, they can go, no, just
Yeah.
those kids, it would be, I just wanted to share it with the kids.
Well, and I think that, the other thing is when you look at, like capturing kids, like, this is what grassroots, like, this is why we need to do this, because, you know, because they talk all about like climate change and doing things in your own backyard, you know what I mean? Like, so I do think that they could,
Well, we're
utilize
also
it.
talking about a disease on the
Right.
birch.
Beach trees,
There's a
beach.
beach leaf, but also there was a guy that you reached out to that's researching this disease right now, right?
Yeah,
For the state.
at the State Agricultural Experiment Station, in New Haven. He's using a phosphite, solution
Tree pattern?
application for beach.
For beach.
It's a twice a year bark application, and they've seen success over a short amount of years
Okay.
in saving the beach. So
Oh.
Nicole and I were
Only
looking into
good
that.
for,
Yeah.
individual trees, it's not good for forests.
Yeah, I mean, it's not practical that you're gonna spray 50 acres of, beech trees individually to save them. So,
So I was at Fairfield U Monday night for a presentation by Professor Stefan, who had done an inventory of all the trees on campus. So there's about 2,500 trees there. He's got them all identified by size, girth, type, and health with 2 students that he did. We're inviting him to the forestry committee meeting to talk about his process, how he went about doing that, and we're gonna need to do a natural resource inventory ourselves as a conservation commission. So plugging what he's done into whatever we end up doing townwide, and if there's a way of leveraging his process for what we need to do around the NNR. I was gonna talk to you about that on Friday and see if we can pull these things together. And with your plot, maybe Fairfield U could also be a possibility. I've got a number of contacts there with students in the environmental studies program, so if that's worthwhile, I'm happy to make a connection.
and I think it's that tracking of the data over the long term. I think that, I think the high school, that's great, but I think it's gonna be this, like you were saying, this is gonna be 5, 10, 15, 20,
I think the scope that I envision with the biostatistics exceeds high school capability.
and that's, I agree. Yeah, I think that to show them, I think it would be great.
Oh, yeah,
But
absolutely.
I think that when you talk about the scope of what needs to be
Lot more.
captured
Yeah.
in this is beyond a high schooler.
You need like consistent, detailed data collected year to year, if you want this to
Right, yeah.
gain traction, but I
Yeah, I
think it'd
think-
be great. Just educational purposes for younger.
Yes, exactly.
For the high school level, something more akin to a field trip with some
Right.
sort of,
Right.
discussion
cool
about
if you,
where it
like,
is.
Brought them their freshman year and then brought them senior year, or like once a year, like just so
Yeah.
they could see the progression year to
Yeah.
year. If they
Okay.
remember it, that would be.
We'll see if we can figure out a way to talk to high school people. Okay.
Yeah, I'm open to that.
Awesome. All right, moving on to number 2, old business. Affidavits mailed to abutting property owners of the Old Field Road North per town attorney and Deeps OSWA grant program.
So this is part of final closure, as Mr. Carey in the audience would probably recall. 760 Old Field Road. There are some encroachments from abutting property owners that the Attorney General and DEP are requiring these affidavits to attest to not claiming adverse possession on town property based on historic encroachments that they may or may not be aware of on the parcel that I'll say we now own. So I want everyone to know, I think there's 8 that went out. And these are properties on the northern side of Old Field Road. So I've had a couple questions come in, phone calls come in with questions. Some I've handled, some I've deferred to council, but so far those are moving along. And once this is all final and the final as-built survey goes to the state, then the state will release our $80,000 back to the town.
Okay. Sounds good. Any questions, commissioners? All right, moving on. Number 6, open space land acquisitions, number 1, continued 263036 Camden Street FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program via Town Planning and Zoning was sold privately, no longer pursuing acquisition.
Very clear. I just wanted to put on there because Assistant Director Harrigan was on our last meeting and we talked about how great this acquisition was. And in between then and now, the property was sold or into contract, which means 2.5 years of work and grant writing with FEMA and the state is for naught, and we will not be acquiring that parcel, those parcels.
Ready here.
Yeah,
Do
so
we know who got it? I mean,
Well, we'll find out when they come in front of
I
us.
know, because I was gonna say, like, wasn't that part of the issue? Was that, I mean, there's really nothing you can do with this property.
it's a repetitive loss. It's yeah, it's not I don't know what the level was on the part of the buyer, but
Jay just said hope springs eternal. That's why I was laughing.
All right. All right, well, we'll see what shows up in the future on this street agenda. All right, number 2 is preparation underway at 150 Villa Avenue open space. Oh, cool.
some things have started to happen there. I've met with engineering. I've met with some of the adjacent property owners. One of which I did not know was Amy Barno, director at CT Audubon. So we will be working together, but there's a couple of things happening. I just wanted to put it out there that progress is being made. Engineering most recently had to deal with an archaeological survey through SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office, who was out there last week. Last Wednesday. So things are happening slowly, so. That's, if everyone recalls, that's our 5-ish acre parcel on Villa, home of the future Rick Trail grant recipient.
Was there any findings of accurate?
I don't know the result. I suspect not, but unconfirmed.
Any questions, commissioners? No. Moving on to number 3, recently initiated acquisition for new open space at 300 and 305 Stonewall Lane, totaling 12.07 acres.
So initiated foreclosure on those 2 parcels. I've been working with the Executrix or Eris, I'm not sure which, the last 2 years, and that is moving forward with town council through the foreclosure process, willingly foreclosed. So that was our agreed upon method of acquisition due to the significant delinquency of taxes from the previous estate.
Gotcha.
So the intent is, once acquired, it's a large parcel, also abuts Audubon's Birch Street parcel. We're collaborating to connect a trail system and create a new open space on those 2 lots. Up against, also up against the parkway, wetlands and water courses. I think it would be a lot of acreage to get for little effort.
Very nice. Good job.
Burning bushes on it.
Don't say burn.
We'll keep Ted busy for bittersweet,
All right.
your favorite.
Moving on, number 4, current acquisition frequency rate is 3.25 months a parcel.
Just my standard metrics of how frequently acquiring land. since
That's great, Tim.
August of 21.
That's pretty.
They talked about that the other night at the Land Acquisition Commission meeting. I went to, Diane and I went a few months ago, and I just kind of wanted them to see a face that it wasn't a one-off.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no other reason to go except for that. I just wanted to kind of the good spirit come on,
That's nice.
something like that. But yeah, they talked about that a lot. Your acquisition rate is
Yeah,
pretty swift.
It's impressive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very impressive.
Good job, Tim.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. There's no bills and communications, so now it's legal enforcement actions. Roman numeral 8, number 1 is continued 30 Laurel Brook Lane unauthorized encroachment damages into conservation easement.
I received the update actually this afternoon on that, and has been consistent. At least I'm updated on a weekly basis. They are retaining professionals and, yeah, so that it's moving forward as quickly as possible.
Number 2, it's continued again. It's the 120 Wakeman Lane, discussion related to conservation easement.
I spoke with the applicant's counsel yesterday. I just explained that I would, that's just a placeholder. If there was any need from the commission to discuss that, I will
think
just
we
be
should
providing an update.
start pursuing legal action. We have the right to do that. We haven't got any action with this homeowner. I think we should start a separate action as a conservation commission to enforce our rights as the conservation easement holder to restore that area. I see no reason why we wouldn't do that.
Aren't they in front of us in wetlands, the inlet wetlands?
They are.
This is a separate issue. We haven't been able to resolve anything as far as I can see with the wetlands issue. Although we'll be discussing that in December. We shouldn't confuse the two, but at the last meeting, when they closed the public hearing, they said they were not receptive to restoring the conservation easement. I think that as our answer, I see no reason why we shouldn't pursue our legal rights. The applicant has to pay for it, and I guess I'll just make a motion that we retain counsel to enforce the conservation easement on 120 Wakeman Lane.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that? Any further discussion on that?
I think I might feel more comfortable pursuing legal action like a little bit farther down the road within the wetlands.
Yeah, that's right. That's where I'm at. I think it might be premature, but
And I appreciate that they're separate issues, but one affects the other. May end up having to go down a legal on both.
I think we will, but I think,
I would.
at this point, it's been a long time, but I think from what, you went there at the last meeting.
I reviewed it.
Yeah, very receptive to our suggestions on the restoration.
Let that, if they weren't receptive, and then I think the vote's gonna be on the December.
Discussion will be on.
Right, so we can see what it comes at that point. I think it might be premature to do that. Yeah, there's issues on this property and this homeowner and how they've interacted. But the last few months, they did get professionals that are trying. There might be a butting of heads between a client and their professionals and then us. But I don't think it's, nuclear bomb tossing time yet. At least that's my opinion. But the motion's on the floor. It's been seconded.
I don't
Can I
see
ask
it,
who
I don't see it
seconded it,
quite as
please?
calm as that, but
I'm sorry?
Who was the second?
It was his motion and.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't see the second.
I think there has been a little more, I feel like a little more action in terms of the, it's been.
Movement, you mean, you like on there?
I'm glad that it's moving forward.
Yeah.
I very much.
Still at a slow rate. I will grant you that, and it's still combative in certain aspects.
Right, I just want to have
But
that,
it's not.
to me, it
I don't wanna-
seems, it seems combative.
Mix we're in a very delicate situation. I don't want to mix I don't want to mix the discussions, so if it.
That's a good
if you
point.
feel more comfortable waiting, we can put this on the meeting after for January, and we can make this, I can make the same motion again. So I'll withdraw the motion for now, and then we can revisit it in June.
Yeah, all right.
I just want to make one comment to that, and that is that we are two separate
Yep.
boards, but we are all the same people.
Yeah.
And we're dealing with someone who is combative, and so I'm just gonna leave it.
It has been.
Has been, has
At the last few meetings,
Yes,
she's
yes.
deferred to her.
Well,
Well, okay.
I
My point
I
of
felt
view is
combative
that the-
last meeting. It was attacked personally, so.
I think the representatives and council have been combative as well. So that's just my view.
Anyways, I don't want to, I think we need to reserve that discussion.
No, it's,
good.
it, unless it's dealt with either in inland wetlands or here, it's gonna be an issue that's, it's not, it hasn't gone away. I think we're just, well, you withdrew the motion, so we can move on, okay. Roman 9, staff reports, report from the Conservation Department, A, miscellaneous improvement project on open spaces.
It's a long list, but keep it short and I guess the in your face improvements lately have been converting the unattractive rickety cedar fence posts on some of our open spaces to low maintenance boulders. As well as at Mohegan, you might have seen the new poly kiosks that were installed in the last week or so. There's more coming to Grace, Brett, and Hoydens. So there's, you know, if you want to add anything else, other tree maintenance or ongoing.
A lot of signs.
I saw your,
Started cutting.
your
fields.
no campfire sign you did yesterday, right?
We did it today, yeah.
That was insane. There,
Well, That's the,
We did a
There's-
campfire.
that's the second time that they did that up there.
Is that at Brentwood?
Hoydens Hill.
this won't turn, but yeah, campfire, and it's literally, someone brought in.
Yeah, they brought in.
Cut
they brought in
logs.
their own wood.
Yeah, and there was a fire. Now, if you could see behind here, I took some other pictures. It's like, it's dry as a bone and it's like.
There's no
I
cure
don't
for
understand
stupid.
anyway, because it's so visible there. It's open. It's not the place to hide out and have a fire because people would see it. I found it strange.
Yeah, it's Peter Rich.
That was pretty alarming.
I think it's teenagers.
Yeah.
But we did notify the police and fire and emergency management, so they're aware of it. But, yeah, I think the signage will help.
And there's also
I
signage.
think it's funny that you have to go to a place like Hoydens Hill and be confronted by signs that say no campfires. It's
There's
just.
also new signage up at Penfield Mills
Oh, yeah. kids
for
are-
no baking
Oh, yeah, they
because
do.
we had complaints of kids riding their electronic motorbikes through there.
Yeah.
I went down there at 3:30 today because that's when the lady said, but there was no activity there today.
I see what they're doing. Pretty soon after you guys are doing it. 'Cause I'm all
It's not
over.
bad. We're down 33% in our workforce, so, I mean,
Yeah.
you got two guys plus me.
Well, thank you for doing what you do with the people that you do.
I got a good crew.
All right, moving on to letter B. Plan trail installation, Wakeman Boys and Girls Club at Westway Open Space on December 7th, 2024.
We have a hard date with volunteers from Wakeman. Nicole, Tom and I and JP have been coordinating that, and yesterday a bunch of us walked in a preliminary loop for the design of that trail where the kids are gonna help us create the new trail in that open space. It comes out to roughly 0.4, 0.5 mile kind of triangle loop along Sasko Brook and Westway at Oxford Road. So that is scheduled. Hopefully we have good dry weather Pearl Harbor Day. And that, we'll announce and try and publicize the new trail for Southport.
That's awesome. I love that the kids are involved with that.
Yeah, it's this, Tim, their director, him and I have been working together, so
It's great.
yeah, we're looking forward. This will be the kind of the first group event. So we'll see how it goes, but we'll prep some work. There's some snags, some hanging trees. Gonna clear that in advance, take some down. There's also some dead trees in there, but once you go in there, even in the growing season, it's odd because it's all mature maple and oak, and there's like almost zero understory.
Really?
So when you walk in, there's like the branches are 20 or 30 feet up. There's no, I mean, you could.
No burning
you
bush.
just, yeah, there's no burning bush.
There's Greenbrier.
There's Greenbrier one
Oh,
end,
it's
right?
not.
That's true.
Yeah, but.
Check out the.
But it almost looks like it's supposed to.
Yeah, and it won't be on the trail.
Yes, yes.
We designed that.
All right. Excellent. That's all I have.
Moving on to any commissioners have anything they'd like to
We
add?
are going to be giving out our first Youth Conservationist Award on Monday at the Board of Selectmen meeting at 3:00.
That's all set?
Oh,
It's all set
That is awesome.
Nice.
on the agenda and it is set.
Excellent. That's great.
Tim is going to say a few words.
Will.
Very
And I
good.
would,
And it's 3:00, correct? I mean, that's what Jen Carpenter said, right?
Oh, it's a special meeting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, it is, because Mary Hogue immediately texted me back. It was like, why is it not 4? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, Jen said 3.
I would just say that, the subcommittee's done a great job in seeing the actual certificate Peter made.
Peter did a wonderful
Right.
job.
Was very impressive with
Modern, yeah.
accurate signatures.
You can change it if you want. I'll
So Rick.
take a
Kane,
sample
Peter,
now.
Yeah, they've been doing a great job, so.
Excellent.
You can do it right here. I'll just use a thick pen, the one that I grabbed.
Awesome. All right, anything further, commissioners? Once, going twice, all right, we're adjourned as far as the.
A meeting notable for the use of yay at least 3 times.
I can't pause this recording, I'm sorry.
Can't pause
I
it.
can't pause the recording, so,
Maybe Fair TV could clip it.
yeah.
Clip it as wetlands.
Yeah. For some reason, it's not giving me the option.
Yeah, they should be able to stop it.
Okay,
Okay. So it's still recording?
it is.
Okay, then. Well, outside of technical difficulties, we're actually now going into the Town of Fairfield Conservation Commission acting as the Inland Wetlands Agency special meeting for November 20th. It's now 8:02. Special agenda, it's at 8:00, it's 8:15, but it looks like council and experts are here. Again, I'll take roll. Lucas Thomas, Dabney, Owen, Jay Fane, Peter Hood, Kato Mahoney, Ted Lipsinger are here, as is Diane Saunders, and Diane will be a full member for tonight's purposes and allowed to vote. We are here for continuation of public hearing. That is WP 24-0079, Land Tech 4180 Black Rock Turnpike. Map 70, parcel 79. Expansion of an existing parking lot within a regulated area. The decision may be made if the hearing is completed or the hearing may be continued. The original 35-day public hearing timeframe to complete the hearing ends October 9, 2024. 42-day verbal time extension was provided by the applicant. Continuation to November 20th, 2024. An additional 23-day time extension may be provided by the applicant, so further public hearing continuation to December 13th, 2024 are possible. A potential continuation date is December 4th, 2024. If the hearing is completed, the agency shall make a decision within 35 days. Commissioners eligible to vote are Gavin McDonald, Richard Petrie is not here, Peter Hood, Jay Fain, Cato Mahoney, Ted Luxinger, and Diane Saunders. Commissioners not present on the fourth and the October 9th were only Amanda Mertens Campbell. Commissioners not present on November 6th were me and Amanda Mertens Campbell. I did review the video of it. So I'm up to speed on what happened at the last meeting. Having receipt of public input, staff does not recommend approval until additional information is reviewed and discussed by the agency. That's where we are. Council, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we get started, just a point of order. We was at the CACA meeting last week and they expressed the importance for me to go on the record saying that I'm a Jay Fain, professional soil scientist, wetland scientist, environmental restoration practitioner, and erosion control specialist with offices at 2000 Post Road in Fairfield, Connecticut. My resume is on file with the commission, and also I've been recognized as an expert in current proceedings before this commission by the courts.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, good evening, many members of the commission, good evening. For the record, I'm John Fallon. Again, let me thank you for doing this as courtesy for my issues, so I deeply appreciate that. Volunteer time. You're very familiar with the application. I'm not going to go into a lot of background. We're in desperate need of additional parking at this location. Barcelona is kind of a landmark, very popular restaurant. They very much want to stay at this location. They want to sign another lease. They want to make an investment in terms of, general upgrades and aesthetics to their restaurant and the property in general. But they can't do that if they don't get more parking. Because I don't have to tell you, if you're familiar with the situation up there now, that parking is a real issue. And it's more than a business or a convenience issue. It is a safety issue, as I've emphasized in the past. So we came before you originally with a proposal here that we in fact modified. We were in front of you at the July meeting. When we came back at the August meeting, we had submitted a modified proposal that was to address the retaining wall concerns that were raised at that particular time. In addition, at the October meeting, we had further addressed staff questions. Mr. Carey, who you'll hear from in a minute, had addressed those one by one. We found that at the October meeting, we addressed again the alternative modified proposal that we address the retaining wall concerns, lowering the retaining wall, reducing the parking in order to do that from 43 to 37 spaces. And as Brian explained at the time, reducing the project footprint substantially. When we were here at the November meeting, Commissioner Fain raised questions with regard to the riparian buffer function analysis, which Brian is going to address tonight. And this disturbance that the wall would show and more details in terms of custom elevations on the wall and how the drainage with the wall would be handled. So I think what we have in front of us tonight, and Brian will detail that, is to address Commissioner Fain's questions in those regards with regard to the buffer function analysis, disturbance of the wall based upon its construction methodology will occasion, and how drainage for the wall will be handled. So Brian.
Thank you. Brian Carey, Land Tech, professional wetland scientist in office in Westport here again for the applicant for WP 2479. So at the last meeting, as John stated, there were some additional questions. We did submit 3 additional documents into the record. We updated the site plans, provided an aerial overlay, and then I provided a memo basically addressing the questions that were presented by a couple of the commissioners. So just to run through this real quick. So there were some questions about the accuracy of the survey. I did go out there the day after and really orient myself with the mapping the existing mapping, and did confirm, with basically with the site plan that all the maps, all the flags are in the areas they are. I mean, the survey, talk with the survey team, talk with the engineers in the department. And, you know, we're back and looked at it and it is accurate. We did add, one of the questions was there is an offsite seep. We obviously didn't flag this. I don't know if it really does meet the definition of water course. Looking at this offsite piece of property, it's been so bone dry out there. There is evidence of scour and some detritus, and there is a bank, but they're being, you know, as dry as it is. There's absolutely no presence of water in there. It looks like most of this is flowing basically from a curb cut that has washed out from Black Rock Turnpike. So there wasn't really much evidence to support that this is a perennial water course that flows with any period of time over than a storm event. Obviously difficult to determine during the flooding, dry conditions we have now. I will say, the area that we did flag for wetlands that are on property and right off property, this really flattens out down here. So where we did show our wetland line in the field, you can basically see that this is a lower riparian area wetland. It's kind of scrubby, even though there looks like there's a healthy tree canopy here. There is a bit of openness to it. I can show you some of the pictures really quickly that were taken from that area during my site walk the day after the meeting. See, this is the seep that was in question. You can see, I mean, there's somewhat of a bank to it, but not really that defined. There is, you know, detritus in there based on the leaves. But
I don't think it's, we're not seeing the right picture.
sorry. Should take 1 second. There we go. So this was the area that was questioned, whether or not it was a water course. Again, I think you could get 4 or 5 different people out there and they would give you a different quantification of that. I do think it, you know, directs stormwater off of Black Rock Turnpike down to this lower area that we did flag as wetlands and is accurately represented on our site survey. That being said, I mean, here's another picture of it. A lot of asphalt in there, obviously. Again, you can see our flags. This is the stone wall. I know you guys did have a site walk out there, but I just want to confirm. So this area is one of the areas that we flagged as wetlands. All the flags are still up in the field. You can see them here. So I just wanted to kind of show that to you. So getting back to the memo that we put in the record, we believe everything's accurate based on our review. And everything we've submitted into the record is accurate. Those photos are actually in the record, in the digital record. I don't want to print out. I think you can go in there and look at them. That being said, the next question, we're talking about the disturbance of the wall and the excavation. There was some concern about the limits of the excavation. We actually updated the detail, went back. Again, this is something that will be provided from a structural engineer, the wall design, after this. Before going to building, to get a building permit, they'll require structural engineer stamp plans. This is a modular block wall. The actual wall we're proposing is a Bronco 2. It's kind of a off the shelf kit. Here's the standard detail. There were some questions about the batter of the wall. We updated that. It's now at the bottom. We also show how there will be no disturbance down gradient of where you can see the silt fence. on the plan. Again, we'll be coming in here, there will be an excavation I provided in the memorandum. It talks about how the wall will be constructed on a gravel base. And then fill will be placed as the wall is basically being elevated on the site. We also did update the detail to provide the elevations of galleries that are being proposed. Basically, there should be enough infiltration based on the fill that this line will basically represents, it will flow under this wall of the water. It's allowed to infiltrate into the material on site. We don't anticipate there water be coming out of the wall. Most walls are built with leaf poles. That is part of the standard design. But again, the water from this will be allowed to flow underneath the wall, so there shouldn't be water leaking out of that. That's kind of described in this part of the memo. Further described, there were some questions about the clarity of the wall and the design of the wall. We submitted that into the record. I don't want to go through all of it. Obviously, it's in the record. Again, we provided a clear layout and foundation of the wall. And then just some of the other issues with the plans were the wall will be, this is the thing, when you propose a retaining wall, the stability of that is going to be a requirement of the building code. Structural engineer needs to submit that. If it doesn't work, it doesn't get approved, it doesn't get built. So obviously this level of detail on the plan is schematic. What we're really looking at here is impacts to wetlands, obviously. That being said, functions and values, and I agree with Jay, the functions and values of Cricker Brook are very high. Providing flood retention, transport of nutrients, wildlife. But the key to this is that we are not diminishing any of those existing functions as part of this project. While we are removing some trees, we've tried to limit to the greatest extent possible the amount of trees that are coming down. A lot of these trees that have actually been marked in the field are basically standing dead wood. Some of them are in decline, some of them are in good condition. But we are doing our best to mitigate that through the substantial planting plan. And again, we've looked at alternatives that we've shown you throughout the process and had received feedback and really listened to the commission. We do believe that this is the most feasible and prudent alternative, which is protective of wetlands and also really, as John spoke earlier, providing the needed benefit of additional parking for the existing tenant. I appreciate everything, the back and forth. I can answer any questions. We did try our best to get this back into the record as quickly as possible. It was a bit of work, but we didn't have to go back and forth with the client on this. That's why we were able to turn it around in a day or two. Yeah, I think we've put together a solid application here. There's really no work. There's no work being done in the flood zone, the actual flood zone that's located in the field. So this really shouldn't have any impact on downstream flooding or any impact on downstream flooding or create any hazard associated with future flooding in the area.
Yeah, I want to just emphasize, we've never received anything but positive feedback from our client, Mr. Gormley, who's the principal for the owner Workforce Partners, wanting to respond affirmatively to all of the comments, questions, recommendations, et cetera, that have transpired since July on this. And we do hope that you'll agree that we have tried to be responsive. We've tried, most importantly, to be environmentally responsible and to ensure that we won't have any adverse impact, because we desperately need this parking. And if we don't get this parking, that's not your problem, but it will lead to a result that will not be favorable for the tenant, for the property owner, for the town. And The important thing there is, however, have we, with that in the balance, met your request? Have we been sensitive and comported to your regulatory standards? And I hope you'll agree we have.
I just wanted to show one thing as well. This is the property across the stream adjacent to us. You know, we're providing a solid vegetative buffer that will be monitored and made sure that it matures into a strong vegetative buffer. Cricker Brook does have a lot of properties that do have, you know, lawn right up to the water course. You know, this is a former dam. I don't know if it was breached at what point, but again, you know, we're maintaining all the existing functions and values. You know, could there be improvements made in the watershed? I think that's something the town can absolutely look at. But again, we are maintaining those functions and values and not creating any impact in the short or long term.
Okay, thank you. I should state again for the record, this is a continuation of public hearing. So this is the applicant providing more information. This public hearing was continued, so it's still open. I'd like to ask commissioners if they have any further questions or anything of the applicant. And
I have a bunch of questions.
okay,
Brian, can you for the site plan back up again and show the commission again the wetland location, the 100-foot setback location, and also the area that you could consider to be riparian zone for the Cricker Brook?
No specific sheet.
Whatever one you, I don't think you have an existing condition sheet, do you?
Yes.
That would be the best one. Maybe you can do it on all conditions and then do the overall.
Actually, I don't have that sheet. You know, I apologize.
I don't remember seeing an existing condition survey for this. project.
This is what you're looking for. So here's the 100-foot upland review area.
Okay. How much of that is that the edge of the existing, where's the edge of the existing?
This is existing pavement here. This is the proposed, this is existing here.
So
Let me-
the 100-foot is close to the edge of the existing pavement?
So the existing parking lot is within the 100-foot area. This is where the extension, this asphalt curb right here. This is the new development. This is the 100-foot line here. That's hard to see. It's a little washed out. Yeah, the dotted one.
Pointer,
Yeah.
red button on the bottom.
Sometimes it's used to be easier.
That was a lousy throw. It's not you. Go get him out.
Washes out the thing too. So that dotted line, the hash line is the 100-foot. The shaded area is the new development, the new increase in asphalt. Obviously, the wall, which showing the full extent of the wall, not just the top of the wall, but we actually are showing footing. So anything, the footing of the wall, we expanded that over the last plan, just to kind of show the disturbance there, to make that more clear. The existing asphalt curb, you can see that where it's called out as asphalt curb, that is the extent of the existing parking lot. So this is all existing. This is new. You can see this area up here, we're actually removing a portion of the existing pavement because it's degraded and it's too steep. We're pulling that back. We did look at alternatives again when we started this about parking garage, and it just wasn't, it didn't fit the site. And then again, we came back and had more parking. We had that second alternative one where we reduced it, which actually straightened out the wall and shortened the wall. So the 100 foot is right here. So there was already disturbance within the 100 foot. This project actually, the property actually had a parking lot extension a couple of years ago, probably, I think in 2017 or 18, that went in front of the commission. And then I'll pull out, but the rear parking lot behind the building is all developed within the 100 foot upland review area.
So what would you consider existing but riparian buffer?
The existing riparian buffer, I would say is, well, I'm not saying it is, anything within the 100 foot and that asphalt curb cut. In our initial, it talks about in our plan, the total work area in the buffer area. So the original plan had 17,000 square feet of disturbance of the buffer. The revised plan, alternative one, had 11,000 square feet. So we actually were able to reduce the overall disturbance within the buffer by about 6,000 feet.
And can you go into a little bit more detail? You discussed some of the functions of the riparian buffer. Can you go into a little bit more detail in terms of existing functions in what you consider to be the impact in terms of water quality, infiltration, water storage, thermal impacts, and habitat, specifically wetland dependent?
I really don't, based on our replanting there and the steepness of the slopes, I don't think there will be much of a long-term impact to wetlands. I mean, there's no critical habitat in the area. We did do an NDDB search and we did look at, to see if there was any vernal pools. Obviously, it's not a site based on the steepness where you see, vernal pools within the upper buffer. Again, we're not doing any work directly in the wetlands. Everything's being done in uplands. We're not altering flood retention, flood control. All of the water quality guidelines are being met, so there shouldn't be any increase in or degradation of water quality based on the construction at the site, short-term or long-term. Nutrient retention, Cricker Brook, obviously we shouldn't be changing any functions of nutrient retention. As far as, educational qualities of since it's a private site, there's not a lot of opportunities to provide educational awareness. I'm just trying to rattle off the 14 in my head.
So you didn't do any wildlife surveys per se, you just, because there's no vernal pools, you're assuming there's no wetland dependent wildlife?
I don't believe there's wetland dependent wildlife. It's Anthony Zembo who did flag it. We had a discussion in the office about that.
Fish?
Yeah, to fish, but we're not doing any work directly within the wetlands. So
And there's no,
I know there's brook trout in the area, but again, you already have a pre-developed site. We're limiting the amount of disturbance at the site to meet the goals of the project. We've gone through feasible and prudent alternatives, shown that we've done our best to reduce any impacts. Again, we've done a planting plan. When, anytime I do a planting plan in a riparian area, I do look at the literature as far as trying to maintain the thermal capacity, especially of a brook trout or brown trout type of habitat. Would normally like hemlocks, but obviously I'm not planting hemlocks in the situation here because of the woolly adelgid. But everything we put in there is substantial, so I don't see that becoming an issue from this project. Obviously, there are adjacent properties that have, degradation to thermal impacts because they've cut down trees. I think we've gone through, and I think it's been a good process throughout, as far as looking at and mitigating all of the potential impacts.
Okay,
Sorry, my computer just died.
that's okay. Commissioners,
Timing was good.
any further questions? Any
Additional questions, any comment?
I'd like to, first of all, thank you for the alternative plan. Because I think it's a significant improvement over the initial plan. And the work that you've done to try and mitigate any potential damage is appreciated, to say the least. What's the ballpark budget for this project?
So, yeah, we haven't gotten there. Normally we would, there's another big hoop we have to jump through
Right.
with zoning. But it's in the millions.
I mean, the work you've done has been great. I'm still not a fan of building anything on this site. Actually, the hotel shouldn't be there to start with. But that's too late to do anything about that. And I know you don't want to use parking across the street because of safety issues on Black Rock Turnpike. I understand that. There's also a commuter lot right down the street on the other side of the Merritt Parkway. How much would it cost to run a shuttle for anyone that wanted to use the restaurant over how many periods of years versus $2 million in building a parking lot?
Well, we've looked at those things because
Okay.
obviously
That's the question.
$2 million is $2 million. As I've said before, the problem with, and I'll get to the commuter lot in a minute. The problem with the property across the street, which for many years lay dormant and was unofficially used, was one, safety. I dreaded when I would go by there on a Saturday night representing that client and seeing all those cars parked over there, realizing people are going to be leaving the restaurant and the bar at, 12, 11, 1 o'clock in the morning, Route 58. Well, so, but that problem was solved because Hartford Healthcare has no interest in doing it. Similarly, I can tell you from other experience in Westport and with a restaurant that I think you would have a very, very difficult time having the state agree to allow the commuter lot to be used, especially for that kind of off-hour activity that involves matters that pertain to alcohol and stuff. And I can say that firsthand because without going into great detail, we had a situation in Westport, restaurants now closed, you may figure it out, where we were looking to utilize that and the state absolutely wanted nothing to do with it. And secondly, as a practical matter, I'd still have concerns about the safety issue because even if it were feasible in terms of the state allowing it and a shuttle stuff, you'd have people parking, walking, not wanting to wait for the shuttle, and you'd be back having people after having a few drinks on Route 58 at night. So I don't disagree with you that before we were all here in the early 1960s, that hotel was built. We have a very responsible, locally rooted owner in Mr. Gormley, who's trying to, make the best of it for the guests and tenants. And this was with your input, making the application better than the one that perhaps we brought to you originally. We hope we've kind of hit the balance.
That's fair. I wanted to ask.
But we looked at a lot of other things before.
At the end of the day, I prefer to not have this thing built at all, to be honest with you. But I'm not seeing any viable alternatives, so.
Thank you.
No, I agree. I thank you so much for being so responsive to our concerns. My concern still is it's just a really bad spot. I think that you can do all of this, but it's that riparian buffers. I mean, it's just, we do know, once it's built, we just, as is this, there's no going back.
And that's why I think you encouraged us to look at alternatives and we did, as Mr. Carey pointed out, we reduced that disturbance in that area from 17,000 to 11,000. Is that perfect? I understand your concern, but trying to balance the reality of what's here now.
Absolutely.
And eliminate, reduce impacts by looking at alternatives. I hope you'll agree that we've done the best that we can.
I think
with your guidance.
Yeah, and I just want to say, this weekend when we were at our training for the state, one of the speakers said, it's parcel by parcel. So we've got, and we've got to look at it. But if we just keep giving a little bit, it adds up.
And there'll be situations where you wouldn't want to do that, or you wouldn't feel warranted in doing that. Hopefully, this is one based upon the historical reality of what's there now, matters of public safety, and also the modifications that we've made with your guidance to the application, that you'd find this is an appropriate one to utilize that discretion.
I agree that the hotel should never have been built there in the first place, but it is. And it's a local business that I think we all want to see succeed. And while would never be in favor of creating a new parking lot under these conditions, I love going to Barcelona. That parking lot is a disaster. And I've seen people come out of there with having had too much to drink and almost die from cars trying to back out and move around. And the asphalt's better condition than it was a few years ago, but is also in bad condition. And I think that we have to be practical, right? I think that if regulation, if there were, I think the commission, part of the task that commissions have and why they exist is to say that sometimes the regulations aren't enough. Sometimes there needs to be more regulation, sometimes there needs to be less regulation, or sometimes there are extenuating circumstances. If we all just went by the rule book, then we wouldn't necessarily have to be here. So I think, and I also appreciate you guys coming back and addressing all of our concerns in a very short period of time. And you have done everything that we asked for in terms of investigating prudent alternatives, coming back with new plans, coming back in a timely manner. And I appreciate that. And I think this commission appreciates that. Certainly not every application is like that. So I think that that it is, I think that it is reasonable for the property owner to need more parking. And I think that you have demonstrated everything that you can to make that possible within the purview of the Inland Wetlands and Conservation Commission. So at this juncture, I'm in favor of this application, as long as staff doesn't have any.
We really have tried to make it easier for you in the sense that as we evolve this thing, Brian emphasized, we really do feel comfortable looking you in the eye in terms of the most important thing for your consideration. And is there anything we're proposing here that will have an adverse impact on the brook, Cricket Brook, or any other regulated area? And we feel confident and comfortable that that will not happen. A lot of that because of the alternative and the whole evolution here that we've all.
And I will say that in the past, we have had applications where we wouldn't have approved it, 50 years ago, when it was first built, but we've had to take, we have to take that into consideration and look at it from a sort of relative perspective and what makes the most sense for the business owner, what makes the sense for the public. And then sort of try to put that within our framework.
Protect the environment.
You haven't been here that long, but maybe council, you might know as well, as
Here a long time.
as the property owner himself or itself, how have they been a steward to the land behind there? Is it dirty? Is it messy? Has it been dealt with in an appropriate way? I mean, as a condition of maybe foreseeing the future, even with this, will they still be a good steward of that area, or would they let it fall to disrepair once the job is done?
I can't speak for the prior owners, but I can tell you since Mr. Gormley and his group have taken it over, not only have they made a commitment, you know what they've done cosmetically in terms of both the interior and the exterior, but that desire to upgrade the property certainly is extended generally to property maintenance. And I think if there is no, they take very seriously wanting it to be a desirable place, because we have a hotel there too, not just the restaurant guests. So the hotel, they want their guests looking out at, garbage down the embankment. So they take very good care of the property. I can tell you that.
Can I add something to that? They're relatively new owners of the property, and I've lived here long enough, and I have family that comes in from out of town, always stays at the Hi-Ho. And it's certainly improved. Everything about that site has improved since the new management has come, the quality of the hotel. They moved where the dumpsters were so that it's farther away from the embankment. And there used to be a lot of dirt and trash that would get blown down that embankment. So 20 years I've been here, it's nothing but
I mean, as one who
Go down the.
visited certain places closely. I think that's just a function of any retail place, people chuck stuff out of their cars. I mean, I'm not gonna say it was terrible, but there is a kind of a line there that probably would have to need some attention ongoing. I don't know what else to say. That's not a criticism. It's just it's not perfect and I don't.
How
think it-
far above the parking lot grade does the walk up? Is it
20 feet
20 feet up?
at the highest point. And then it grades off.
20-foot wall, but then is there a parapet? You have a railing, no parapet.
But from the,
There's a small gap. and
Yeah.
then there's a guardrail.
there's a guard, and how high is that about?
The guardrail's probably about 3 feet.
Gotta be higher for code, right?
36
2 inches
inches.
per code.
Right.
4 feet per code.
Yeah, but I'm saying like above the grade of the, like, in other words, is there a visual barrier or a physical barrier that would allow people, that would prevent people from being able, for trash to be able to get to the other side of the event?
I think there's I'm sorry,
There's
my.
gonna be a railing, and a railing, by
Fence.
code has to have
Detail.
4 inch between the.
There should be a fence on the backside of the guardrail.
Here, there's some sort of fence.
There's actually a fence on the other side.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, if I should say that. Generally, we put a 4-foot fence in, like especially in,
Section, yeah.
so here's yeah, but we could put a fence there, or just at least put, any point on that, bottom? We do that for all restaurants, like retail, so that, we'll like throw cups. It stays
And
on.
there's a liquor store there too, so
Right,
someone
so you
has
got
their little
two things.
nips and they suck them out the window. Yeah, I mean, that would. I think that would reduce I just think also having a visual barrier, people are less likely to dump or to. or stuff, so.
So not speaking from the perspective of inland waterlands, but from conservation. Everyone on this commission knows that I have a big thing about lighting. We're adjacent to a natural area and you're going to have a lot of activity that is going to interrupt with the wildlife. Is there any way of putting a barrier from any light hitting down into Cricker Brook, or the lighting that is installed when we do the improvement is dark skies compliant?
Has to
It
be.
is less than 3,000 Kelvin and is on a motion detector, so it goes off when there's no one there and it comes on when somebody's moving.
Yeah, I mean,
Those are best practices right now for lighting.
and we're gonna have to, certainly, in terms of the dark sky compliant and that's gonna be a requirement for zoning, because if you are good enough to approve this application, we still have to go to planning and zoning. And planning and zoning is also very conscious of, light containment, and we'll have to do a photometrics and everything like that for them. Your comment or thought about motion and so on, sure, I think that's sensible. We would have no interest, and I'm sure planning and zoning would have no interest in us having lights in the parking lot after the facilities were closed.
That would be my concern, right? Because we also have, not that hopefully never happens, but there could be, so you have alcohol, restaurants, hotels. Could there be any assaults or anything like that that would happen in a parking lot in a dark area? That's a.
It's actually safer with motion detectors than it is with the.
Yeah, that's why I thought.
It's, there's studies that show the motion detecting actually alerts people to the fact that something's going on. If the light's on all the time, you become blinded to it.
It's effective even if it's
Council, that'd be
one
up to you and
person
your client. I mean, if as long
It's
if it's a
effective even
best
if it's just
practice or
one
if it's
person
a viable way,
walking around.
fine, but.
We'll certainly consider that. I mean, clearly, we're going to have to be dark sky compliant And clearly, we're gonna have to have fixtures that ensure there's no light trespass. And surely we're gonna have to have a photometrics. Planning and zoning is gonna be all over the lighting based upon the proximity of the residential zone. Okay.
Well, right.
There's no
And-
spillage.
But you're,
And it's a I mean, obviously, we're not planning and zoning, but but it's a motel, so you have to have some kind of lighting at all.
at all
Yeah,
times.
The point's not to not have lighting, it's to have the right kind of lighting.
When it's
And
needed.
lighting up the right thing. We don't want to be lighting up the sky, we want to be lighting up the pavement for people to
That
walk.
I can assure you will have to be satisfied planning and zoning, because they are all over, like, especially when you have a use like this proximate to a residential area.
Okay, I know we got this Friday, but have you had any time to look at anything or? make
I
any
got it,
comments?
it was not, I got hard copies to the, I think.
We gonna have to go?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess just to build on a couple comments, I think fencing on top of the wall would would help with trash concerns. And from the land use, current land use, I foresee trash being an issue. We have a similar issue with adjacent town open space further down Black Rock Turnpike near Burrows. And the current property owner's 6-foot PVC fence has an 8-inch gap at the bottom where trash from commercial businesses and dumpsters migrates under the fence into wetlands. So if that was the case, I would like to, the agency to condition this permit with that type of physical boundary, which would meet the railing, the town's railing requirements of 48 inches on top of a retaining wall. If the applicant would agree is with the agency's condition. Also, is there a possibility, or I guess explain why, can the dumpster be relocated to the
We looked at that, it's because of the
turn radius?
turn radius.
My suggestion being that another 60 feet away from
Yeah, I was gonna suck up
wetlands would have,
two extra parking spaces. We did look at that because the location of the dumpster on site, even where it's even there, it's practical for and the store owners, but there's really nowhere to put it. We did look at that. Yeah, we wanted to try to put it closer back behind the restaurant, but it's not.
Can't access it.
and those are, is there plans to be 2 5-yard dumpsters?
I believe it's 2 5-yard dumpsters and they'll be in an enclosure.
Or that enclosure be solid?
It will have slats in it,
Slats?
yeah, the slats.
Okay, those are my 2
Heated.
points.
Very comfortable with the fencing on top of the wall, because as I think as Mr. Payne pointed out, I think that's a requirement anyway from a building code standpoint, and it makes sense.
If it was 6 foot, solid PVC, I think that would, touching the top of the wall, that would alleviate trash, especially with the dumpster in that corner and the parking lot. Blowing trash from offsite, roadway into the property.
That's fine.
I just think that would be very helpful.
That's fine.
Yes, Commissioner. Diane.
I just have a couple questions and comments. You mentioned the maximum height of the wall is about 20 feet. And what's the height as you,
Tapers down to 0. So basically, it comes down, it will taper out. I don't have the plan because my computer died, but it will, there's actually, look at the top and the bottom. The bottom, so that's top of wall, bottom of the wall, so that is 0, so it comes up.
okay,
Over here again, it tapers down, so the wall will actually start at 0, go up to 20. And then go back.
And how far is the wall in various places from?
So, it basically, yeah, so the closest would be here, and that's. That's how we try to minimize that proximity as much as possible.
Okay, I guess I'm just struggling with your whole concept where you're basically obliterating the entire slope. Lots of mature trees. Literally paving it over. You're very close to the brook. You say there's no wildlife impact. But at that distance, I mean, I was just at a seminar recently, just to give an example, they were saying salamanders need to have about 160 feet from their water source. So here you have 26 feet, and then in some areas it's more. But I don't know how you can say that there's no wildlife impact. And honestly, I feel for their business problem, but I just don't feel that that concerns us.
Well,
That's not what we're voting on.
It is, and I respect your concerns, but without being in any way argumentative, let me say that I think what your concerns need to be technically is what the record evidence indicates and whether or not there's substantial evidence in the record, you want to talk legally, to find by substantial evidence that what is being proposed is reasonably likely to have an adverse impact on matters within your jurisdiction involving wetlands and watercourses. That's the standard legally. And I think by that standard and taking into consideration, as I've said before, the 5 months that we have been working through this and working constructively with the commission and benefiting from the input from the commission, and based upon the alternatives that we have addressed, including alternative A, which reduced the disturbance in that buffer area from 17,000 square feet to 11,000 square feet, on balance, and looking at it purely legally, without even considering the fact that, as Commissioner Lessinger said, the hotel is there. We're trying to preserve and protect an important business in the town, and at the same time ensure public safety. Leaving all of that aside, if you want to boil it down to your statutory function, then you have to look at the record evidence and determine whether there is substantial evidence in this record to determine and support a finding that there's a reasonable likelihood that there will be harm to wildlife, et cetera, et cetera. And respectfully, I don't think that the record establishes that. So I think we're all left in a reasonably good place, because by the rigorous approach you've taken to this application and the applicants working constructively with you, and by the way, Mr. Gormley just arrived, you know, we've come to a point where I think we can ensure the protection of patrons to this facility, protect this business that we all want to see thrive, and at the same time ensure that you've fulfilled your statutory responsibilities to ensure that there's been alternatives addressed and minimization addressed that will ensure there won't be any adverse impact. Your regulated considerations. That's all I can help.
And I appreciate that. Unfortunately, I am not an expert. I am just expressing my concern.
I understand.
That we as a commission are supposed to be regulating these areas, and most of this area is literally disappearing.
Appreciate your comments.
Commissioners, any further comments, questions? Okay, so that was the applicant. Is there anybody here that would like to speak in support? In the room, would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody online? Doesn't look like it. Anybody opposed here? Anybody opposed online? Doesn't look like it. I guess we can close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Want me to just make the motion and request later?
Yeah.
Make the motion close.
Anybody second that? Dabney, second. All in
Thank you
favor?
again for your courtesy.
Thank you.
Doing this
All in
tonight.
favor to close the public hearing? Yes.
I just would like, request that we hold this decision over to the next meeting, because I just got the plans tonight. I would like to have a chance
So
to.
we have 35 days, so
Right.
there's plenty of time.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, very much. Appreciate it.
So we can adjourn.